I completed my anthropology course, but before I move on to the next course, I wanted to share this from my Model 5 overview. Verbatim. Ethnicity, gender, and marriage. What is your reaction when you hear about the practice of polygamy? Or racism, or gender inequality? Different cultures will inform different perspectives on these ideas. There is endless variation and diversity throughout cultures on these issues, and the differences manifest themselves in a number of ways. This model will take a closer look at three key areas where culture may vary: social stratification, sex and gender, and marriage and kinship patterns. It will provide the background for questions such as these: what boundaries or aspects do I use to identify myself? Is there such thing as an egalitarian society? Who do I consider family? Continuing the overview from Model 5 of my anthropology course, ethnicity, gender, and marriage, stratification, verbatim. What do anthropologists mean by the term social stratification? Simply put, social stratification refers to a division of society into two or more groups that are hierarchically ordered in relation to each other. People in the different strata have diverse access to jobs, education, and standards of living. In other words, individuals do not have equal access to economic resources, wealth, or power because of socioeconomic background, gender, or ethnicity. For example, women in the United States typically make 78 cents for every dollar men make. Yes, daddy's at work. Daddy's at work. For example, women in the United States typically make 78 cents for every dollar men make. The pay is even lower for African American women and Latinas, National Partnership of Women and Families 2015. Does social stratification exist in all types of societies? Anthropologists would argue that the answer is no, as foragers and horticulturalists are more likely egalitarian, meaning that everyone in the group has similar access to economic resources, power, and prestige. This does not mean that forms of inequalities do not exist, just that these societies are not stratified. Individuals in egalitarian societies who are highly skilled in hunting or gathering, or who are older, may be more respected or influential than others. To continue a portion of the overview from my introduction to anthropology, sex and gender as it pertains to ethnicity, gender, and marriage, verbatim. How do anthropologists define gender, and what is the difference between gender and sex? Sex refers to the observable, physical or biological differences between males and females. Gender refers to social construction and roles that are assigned to sexes that children learn through enculturation. Interestingly, while there are usually only two sexes, anthropologists recognize third, and in some culture, fourth genders. Model 5 will also show how these different societies assign work according to gender and what cross-cultural studies of boys and girls reveal. Finishing an overview from my introduction to anthropology course as it pertains to ethnicity, gender, and marriage. Marriage and kinship. The idea of family is almost universal in all societies, but who is considered family and who is not differs considerably. Anthropologists recognize a number of descent patterns or kinship patterns. Unlineal descents account for 60% of all the descent patterns and includes either patrilineal or matrilineal kinship. Unlineal descents are more common with cultures that practice pastoralism, horticulture, or agricultural modes of subsistence. Patrilineal descent, kinship traced through the male line alone, accounts for 45% of unlineal descent pattern and is found in India, East Asia, the Middle East, and Papua New Guinea. Matrilineal descent, about 15%, which traces kinship through the female line, has been found among traditional Native American cultures, Australian cultures, and some groups in Africa. Ambilineal descent traces kinship through men and women, allowing individuals to choose which descent group to be affiliated with. But this is a rare form of descent. Bilateral or non-unlineal descent traces kinship from both parents equally and is the most common descent pattern found in Western societies. The type of descent pattern a culture practices will most likely determine how a household is set up, or in cases of extended families, whose relatives will be included in the household. Usually, Americans live in a nuclear family household, meaning only parents and unmarried children live together. However, this is far from the norm in other parts of the world. Many cultures live in some sort of extended family living situation as parents, children, grandparents, or even cousins live and work together. Another aspect of family life is marriage. Why do individuals marry and what purposes does marriage serve? According to Scholz and Lavenda, marriage 1 creates relationships between kin and the partners, 2 stipulates the degree of sexual access the married partners have to each other, 3 transforms the status of the participants, 4 creates a social pattern for children. Outside of Western societies, romantic love seems to have little to do with successful marriages. But anthropologists have shown that even in non-Western societies, romantic love is important. Marriage usually occurs between a man and a woman, but some cultures allow same-sex marriages. The different ways people choose potential marriage partners and the different forms of marriage, such as the practice of polygyny, will also be examined.
Everybody just loves a winner. Nobody wants to be around a loser. Nobody wants to be around a man who's lost his mind. So you really find out who your friends are. People who call you in distress when you're down and you're out and you don't have any more to offer to them. So then on the comeback, I have the smallest team ever. The people who were there for me when I was gone, when I was out. So yeah, I keep it nice and small. I'm happy for every day. And whatever happens in life happens. I don't care.
You know what success is? Success is when your children want to be with you when they're adults. That's success. How many people could have all that bull and their kids don't come home for the holidays? Come on. The most cool thing I've ever been called in my entire life is dad.